I'm Alicia Powe in Washington for TvAbraham. Welcome to Inside the Capitol. I press senators on both sides of the aisle. Does a ceasefire really pause a 60-day war powers clock?
The 60-day thing does matter to some of the Republicans in the war powers resolution. Now, today was right before day 60. We're going to have a vote when we get back from recess. That will be, day 70 or something. So then it will really be time to act if you believe the 60-day thing matters. But I wasn't surprised that Senator Collins, now that we're up on day 60, that she voted with us. That was very positive. It was interesting today that I think the Secretary recognizes they have a 60-day problem, because he sort of ventured an explanation. Well, there's a stoppage time if you're in a ceasefire and the clock stops. That's not the case in the statute. The 60 days starts from the day the notice comes over. The ceasefire that we're in just means bombs aren't dropping. It doesn't mean that hostilities have stopped, because we're using the Navy to blockade all the Iranian ports and keep energy and keep everything, from coming in or coming out. So we are still in combat with Iran. It's just not with bombs. So, but the fact that Secretary Hegseth said that today shows that he knows 60 days isn't relevant. They've been violating the Constitution, in my view. But when you get to Friday, they're going to be breaking also the statute. And I warned the Secretary about that this morning. You guys are already in violation of the Constitution. Don't layer it on with violating the War Powers Resolution also. They need to either get this war authorized by Congress or send the notice about winding down operations and removing U.S. troops. That's how to comply with the law. Our options are obviously continue with the War Powers Resolutions, and hopefully we keep picking up more people. And we're also now doing at least 3 things that are kind of in the appropriations space. There's an approps discussion. We had the discussion this morning about the president's bill. They need Democratic votes. We can insist upon provisions. They want the supplemental that they're likely to send us soon. They need Democratic votes on that. We can insist upon provisions. And we're writing the defense bill in the Armed Services Committee. That's authorizing that appropriations. But there's sort of 3 moving vehicles right now other than the War Powers Resolutions, and they're all kind of coming to a head at the same time. And we'll use all of those tools at our disposal.
So I support President Trump's decision to continue the blockade. I think it's important that their economy be placed in a position to bring real negotiators to the table. The President of the United States has made it clear that Iran will not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. And when they will not give on that point, and when they continue to have the money to fund their terrorist organizations abroad like Hamas, Hezbollah, and groups south of Saudi Arabia, we've got a ways to go. So it's important to get their financial resources constrained so we can get to a position where they're in the mood to negotiate. But I would just comment that between the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz by our military, plus the steps that, excuse me, let me start over. The 2-pronged strategy of blocking the Straits of Hormuz to prevent Iranian oil from being shipped overseas, plus Secretary Bessent's strategy to constrain their ability to transact with other countries, should put us in a good position to negotiate with them.
No, the White House has not reached out about the 60-day deadline, and let us remember, included in acts of war is a blockade. The United States Navy is blockading the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump points this out to us every single day. That means that right now the United States is at war with Iran. Only it is a war that the President of the United States doesn't think he has to come back to the representatives of the American people and explain to them why we are in this war and what his plans are for ending it. I know this is a hard time. We are trying to talk to our leaders here because what we want to see is a system that works and works for the American people. That is our job. And what Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth cannot do for all of their chest beating is explain how what they're doing in Iran is somehow helping the people of the United States of America.
Well, I was just asking the Secretary of Defense, this question. We, as a country, have expended a huge amount of munitions, a lot. I'm not going to get into the numbers. The numbers are classified. There's some public reporting on this. But the Secretary has, talked about, we've hit 13,000 targets. To do that takes weapons. And we have, fired and dropped a lot. And there are, tragically, civilian casualties. And tragically, U.S. troops have lost their lives. And so far, what has this administration accomplished? Strait of Hormuz is closed. They still have the uranium, same regime in place, and the whole thing seems to be kind of stuck.
President Trump has blockaded the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran is every day losing over $500 million. It is enormous economic pressure, and this is going to end by Iran agreeing to the president's red lines. No enrichment. They must hand over their enriched uranium. They must stop funding terrorism, and we need to open the Strait of Hormuz.
I think the expectation is that he has the ability to extend it for 30 days. I'd be surprised if he didn't ask for a 30-day extension. During that time period, we'll be asking questions. Matter of fact, some of us are meeting with the Secretary of War this week. Specifically, we're going to be talking about that particular issue. A lot of the questions that we have that probably can't be talked about in public, but we most certainly want to get the answers. And if they need to be in a classified setting, so be it. We've got young men and women who are still in that area. They're still in harm's way. As long as they're in harm's way, we're going to do everything we can to get the right kinds of answers, but we're not going to ask questions that could elicit a response that might cause a problem for them in the Gulf area, in the operational area. Not afraid of having open discussions, but we're going to get a lot more information in a classified setting.
We should end this war. Definitely ceasefire should continue. The president wanted the Strait of Hormuz to be open, and he's closed it, and it's resulting in an incredible expense for everyday Americans. It's a dead-end policy, extend the ceasefire. What we've seen here is executive overreach met by congressional capitulation, where powers is constitutionally the power of Congress, not the unilateral authority of the executive. So my hope is all of us would do our job.
The Democrats have spent hundreds of billions of American taxpayer dollars over the past decades propping up the Iranian regime. They believe the Iranian regime, unfortunately, is a legitimate organization, and for some reason they want to see it continue because they think they can negotiate an end to this terror. The truth is we can't. The only way is with force, unfortunately.
Will Congress reassert its authority, or will the administration continue without a vote? We'll be watching closely. I'm Alicia Powe for TvAbraham. Thank you for watching Inside the Capitol.